Good morning. And Dan, thank you very much for hosting us all here today and tomorrow, and for Mount Scopus's generosity. This is the second Educators Conference that I've had the honour of sort of opening and welcoming. And I'm acutely aware of the fact, as I was 2 years ago, that I'm standing here in front of a room full of educators and I'm not an educator. So the combination of that and seeing my former principal Miriam Muntz here is giving me flashbacks to the 1990s of assembly at Yavna College with a little bit of trepidation and nerve, so forgive me. But I'm also aware of the fact that we're not in the 1990s anymore. And we are no longer living in the golden age for the Jewish people globally. And perhaps Australia is no longer the golden Medina that it once was. And all of us here, like the entire Jewish world, are forever altered by the events of the 7th of October. That day shattered our security, it shattered our understanding of the world and the people around us, but it also awakened something deep inside all of us, I believe. And I think it's something about this collective understanding of what it truly means to be a Jew. Rabbi Sachs, after the 1967 war, the Six-Day War, when he was reflecting on the aftermath of the war, he wrote that being Jewish is not merely a private and personal matter, but something collective and historical. It means being part of an extended family, many of whose members we may never meet, yet to whom we feel deeply connected by bonds of kinship and responsibility. And today, this connection is more palpable than ever. You feel it on the streets, you feel it in Jewish environments, you feel it in non-Jewish environments, you feel it on the streets of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. And the pain that we've all felt since the 7th of October, it's not an individual sorrow. I mean, it is an individual sorrow, but it's not only an individual sorrow. It is the profound ache of Jewish peoplehood. Our collective task now, I believe, is to hold on to that pain and to transform it and channel it into an unwavering commitment to action. Now, what is that action? Well, while it's undeniable that the 7th of October has changed the Jewish world forever, that is my very strong view, we, and when I say we, I mean you, I also mean we, but particularly Jewish educators here in this country and globally, have an enormous responsibility to make sure that this doesn't define our Jewish identity. We have to make sure that the next generation of Jewish children understand that we are more than our tragedies. We are more than our resilience in the face of adversity. Rabbi Sachs reminds us, as he once said very eloquently, that when you defend a country, you need an army. Thank God we have an army. But to defend a civilization, you need schools. And that's why we're here. I think it's clear to anyone that is watching what is going on around the world at the moment that we are in the battle for Western civilization. It's not just a battle for the Jewish people. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here over the next 2 days, to educate, to inspire, and to build a future for our community where our identity is not defined by our suffering, but instead by our values, our dreams, and our collective aspirations. So this year's conference, the theme is building our visions, the 18 dimensions of Jewish life. It's a call to action. It's an invitation to imagine a future where Jewish education is not merely about surviving, but it's about thriving. We are a resilient people. It's true. I've been to Israel twice since the 7th of October, and each time I come back thinking about how resilient Israelis are. But the truth is, that resilience is about surviving. Zionism isn't. Zionism is not merely a testament to our survival. It's a rejection of the notion that merely surviving is enough. It's not. And the pioneers of the Zionist movement, the Chalutzim, they understood this and they refused to accept an unacceptable reality. They understood that to merely survive was not sufficient. They sought to extricate themselves from the confines of resilience and to build something much greater, a homeland, a future and a vision. So today, I think we all face a very similar challenge. The circumstances we live, not just since the 7th of October, but of course from well before, it's turned the state of Israel into a fortress, a physical fortress with walls, a virtual fortress with cyber. We have Iron Dome. And our circumstances have also forced the Jewish communities in the diaspora to become fortresses. We all drove into Mount Scopus today. I had to show a security pass. We all see the security, the walls, the buildings, the guards. The problem is that fortresses are not meant to last forever. They cannot sustain an eternal people. And the next aspiration of Zionism, the next great Zionist dream, has to be to transform these fortresses into a campus that teaches the wisdom of Jewish values, of Jewish tradition, with a view to building a better world, one in which Israel and Jewish tradition is seen not as the problem, not by us, not by our own people, not by others, but rather as the solution. And so, I think, if I could just leave with a final thought, it's that if we had to capture in one sentence why this conference is so important, it's because that encapsulates, this is the pathway for us all to execute on this mission. And I hope that over the next 2 days, we can make a start, or continue the tradition of building the foundations of that future together. And none of this would be possible without, well, many people, but there are a few people that I want to mention in particular. First and foremost, as Dan mentioned, to Miriam Munns, who has been the guiding force behind this conference for over a decade. Miriam, your dedication to Jewish education, to the community, without ever putting your hand up, asking for anything in return, I don't think I'll ever really be able to use the right words to describe it. And there's a lot more that I could say. I could talk a lot about the support outside of the Educators Conference that Miriam's provided to me personally and to the ZFA, particularly over the last few years. But I know that she's squirming right now and doesn't love the attention, so I will pause and I will not continue this. But Miriam, it's going to be very, very difficult to imagine this conference continuing without you as the driving force. But I know that you will be there and you'll be there to support your successor. And I'm very hopeful and confident that we will be able to continue to grow on the incredible work that you have done. So thank you so much. I also want to acknowledge Ron Weiser. There's Ron somewhere sitting here, who's a former president of the ZFA, but really he was the brains and the initiator behind this conference in 1998, I think it was. And it's very nice, Ron, to see the next generation of Weiser family here today as well. And, you know, Ron, I think you can take a lot of pride and get a lot of nachas out of looking around the room today and seeing the legacy that you've created with this initiative, because it's really one of the most important and amazing things that we do. I also want to acknowledge Sharon Marlowe, who I saw earlier we waved, who is a good friend of the ZFA and a very generous sponsor for the event today. But most importantly, Sharon is the person that help us find and secure our new CEO, Alon Kasudo, who, if you haven't all met, you will over the course of the conference. And while we miss Jeanette, and she's still very much a part of the family, I feel very confident that with Alon at the helm of the ZFA, we are going to continue to grow from strength to meet the challenges of today. So thank you, Sharon. So I want to acknowledge Rachel Schwartz, who, through the Education Heritage Foundation, has enabled Dr. Raviv to be here with us today. And Rachel is also a member of our Israel Go committee, sharing with us the wisdom of Y2I so we can apply all of those very important lessons learned in Sydney on a national basis to maximise and enhance the number of Jewish children we have going on gap year programs to Israel. Thank you, Rachel. And so I apologise, I'm not going to mention all of our international guests, but we are very excited to have you all here. But I do, just as a final mention, just want to also acknowledge the very important contribution and partnership that Designers Federation shares with UAA. UAA is really a part of every single thing we do at the ZFA, every program, every initiative. And it's quite unique to have an organisation whose purpose, of course, is to raise funds for Israel, and over the last, since the 7th of October, have raised tens of millions of dollars just in Australia alone that has gone directly within 48, 72 hours to victims of terror. But to also have an organisation that can understand the strategic importance of ensuring that the community is not just able to write a cheque, but is imbued with a strong sense of their own Jewish identity and values. And so our partnership is really critical to everything we do. Finally, and I'm about to hand over to Rabbi Dr. Scott Berman, who I think you all should know by now, but for those that don't, is the Director of the English-Speaking Countries for United. So, Rabbi, we had the pleasure of Shabbat dinner a couple of years ago at my house when you came for the last conference, and we caught up on just this Friday. And I feel very, very excited about the opportunities now for our partnership, the partnership with United and the ZFA, to develop and grow into really enhancing what is already, I think, an incredibly successful conference. And I mean, one just needs to ask Rabbi Berman about the numbers of educators that are at these conferences in the United States when, and compare the population sizes, the number of kids in Jewish day schools. There is a lot that we have to be proud of, and I think one of the things that we want to explore together is how we can learn more from overseas and other communities, but also perhaps how they can learn from the very unique network of Jewish day schools that we have in this country as well. So on that note, I will hand over to Rabbi Berman and wish you all much success for the rest of the conference, and thank you all for taking the time to come, because I know that we, certainly at the ZFA, but I think all of the participants really derive enormous value from this every 2 years. Thank you.